All right, this is the Unit 2B test review. This is now the second page, 5 through 9. So we have 5 questions on this one. Okay, so number 5, determine the range. Okay, so notice it's not both domain and range, it's just one. So make sure if you're on the test to pay attention if it only asks for one to which one you're doing. So because I want range, we know that range is the bottom of my graph less than y, less than the top of my graph. Okay, so I'm going from the bottom to the top. So looking at this, the lowest point on my graph is down here, and the highest point on my graph is up here. So for my range, I know that it's y in the middle, and I count 1, 2, 3, so -3, and that's a closed circle, so I underline it. And then positive 1, 2, 3, 4. Also open circle, closed circle, so I underline that. And for the range, since that is all it asked for, I am done with that question. And I can go to the next one. Sweet. 6. As soon as it's not blurry, maybe. I don't know. Okay, well hopefully you have it in front of you also. So it says the function f is given as f of x equals -2x minus 8. What is the root of f? Okay, so anytime you see root, you have what? Root, x-intercept, 0. Well, no, there's one more. What is it? I don't know. Root 0, x-intercept. Okay, anyways. So anytime you see root, that's where that means it equals 0, right? Oh my gosh. So it's an x-intercept, which means you set the equation equal to 0, which is y. Set y equal to 0, so you can y equals 0. And you solve for x. So in this case, f of x is the same thing as y equals. So if y equals 0, I do 0 equals my equation. Okay, so 0 equals -2x minus 8. And I solve for x. Okay, so solving for x, I want to move my number away from x. So -8 becomes +8, because that's how you get rid of it over here. Carry this down, so 0 plus 8 is 8. Carry down my -2x. And solving for x, divide. So 8 divided by -2 is -4. Of course, that's your x value, and our y value is 0, so technically you're supposed to write this as -4, 0 as a root, because the root is asking for the x-intercept, which is a point on the graph. It's not just half the point, you want the whole thing. So I would write it as -4, 0, and that's it. Actually here. For those of you that are like, why aren't you boxing that in? And why does your box look so dumb? Well, I'm not going to fix it, so that's okay. All right, number 7. What is the domain and range? So I need both of the graph. Okay, so we know domain is left less than x less than right. Range is bottom less than y less than top. Okay? So again, I want to look for arrows first, because any arrow that matches is infinity. And I do have an arrow right here. It's going straight up. So straight up means that down here on the right, that part is infinity. Okay? So if I do x and y with my less thans, I know this up arrow, so this right part on the range, is going to be infinity. And because I have no other arrows, everything else is a number. Okay, so since I'm already doing range, I'll go ahead and do the other part. So I want the bottom. Well, the bottom of my graph, or the lowest point, is on the line. So looking at the y-axis, that would be 0. And that's a closed circle, so I underline it. And in case I don't think I mentioned this, but in case you forgot, you never underline infinity, because you can never be equal to it. You never actually get there. So infinity is never underlined. And then open circles are not either, which we don't have here. Okay, so domain is left to right. Well, it's a vertical line, so I only have one number, which is 1, 2, -3. So that goes on both sides, and no open circle. Okay. So again, if I have the same number on both sides, I can go ahead and write that as simply x equals -3. Either one's fine. I just know on tests, usually you won't see the first way. You'll just see it as x equals if it's a single number. That's how most people write it. But as long as you know it's just that one number and nothing else, then we're good. All right, number 8. The graph of the linear function f passes through the points -2, 5, and 4, -4. What is the slope and y-intercept? Well, luckily it gives us a graph. So if you want, you can use the points it gives you. So look, -2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a point. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, -4. Okay? So it gives me those 2 points, and I can very easily do slope, right? So slope we know is, let me write it over here. I have rise, which is up or down, over run, which is always to the right. Okay? Up is positive, down is negative. And so I can count. So you always want to go left to right, because look, I have to go right. So if I have to go right and I start here, I can't go left. Okay, don't want to do that. You get the wrong answer. So from this point to this point, I go up or down first. So I'm going to go down, and then to the right. And now I count. So from here I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I go 9, and because I'm going down, it's negative. And then I count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So slope is -9/6, which I can reduce, and you get -3/2. Okay, that was easy enough. Now the y-intercept is simply, so here's the y-axis. I just want to know where it crosses the y-axis. Crosses right here, and that point is 0, 2. And that's it. So for slope, you just count up or down, then right, and then y-intercept is just where it crosses the y-axis, and that's it. I mean, there's nothing else to do for that one. So that's 8. All right, last one on this page. The linear function g has an x-intercept of 4. Okay, so that's important to know, x-intercept, not y. Which graph best represents g? Okay, so notice none of these labels are x and y. Okay, we don't label the axis or the axes on here. So if we want to, we can go ahead and write y and x. Y, like if it helps, that we don't get these confused or mixed up by accident. Okay, so let's label. We label x and y axis. I want the x-intercept, which means the x and x-axis, right? So if I go across the x-axis on all of these, I just want to know which one crosses at -4. Okay, this one, 1, 2, 3, that's +4. 1, 2, 3, -4. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, -4. Okay. Some of y'all might be thinking, wait, why are there 2 answers? Well, that's because you have graph or graphs, like could be plural, which in this case it is. So I want to know which graph best represents x-intercept of -4. Well, we have 2. We have this one and this one. Okay. It's not C because that's +2. It's not A because it's +4. I didn't want those. I wanted -4. So B and D are my answers. Okay, so that is it for this page, which means I will go ahead and end it for the video.